Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dabblers. I'm your host Q. I'm writing solo today, but I have a very special guest in Shanice Ndlovu, author of The Pride of Noonlay. Really great book, really great human. So, yeah, we have a lot to talk about. So let's get to it.
You're not even gonna say hi. You're like, fuck it. Let's get straight into it.
I will. Okay, let's backtrack. It's been how long has
Yeah.
it been since we?
Gosh, it's been
It's
an
been,
age.
jeez, it's been a while.
Yeah.
I think the last time was like the movie night thing. Yeah.
Ah, yes, it was. That
Hmm.
actually isn't that long ago. Yeah, it's not that long ago.
Now that we think about it, it's
No.
not that long. Uh,
Yeah.
how you been? You've been good.
Yeah, I'm doing what I can.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember you did mention that there's the whole thing going down.
How are you, Quentin?
Oh man, that's a hard question. I'm alive. That's how I'm doing.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
Aren't we all just here to breathe and stuff?
We will fucking take it.
All right. Okay. So shall we dive right into it? Get to the.
Let's let us.
All right. So the last time we talked, right? On this podcast, it was during the KNL prize time and the
Ah,
publishing of. Yeah, you remember that?
I do.
Yeah. And the publishing of the Pride was relatively like a well kept secret in many respects. But now the book is out,
Mm,
right?
it
So
is.
so I gotta ask, like talk to me about the experience of the whole KNL thing, because it led to the whole that other tiny competition that was linked to it, where people had to vote for their favorite storyteller, and what the Pride did and what the Pride has done for you, that sort of thing.
Right. Oh, no, so the K&L thing was a whole separate thing from the storytelling thing, because the storytelling thing was for Haditia, and yeah, so that was fun. The pride. It's I would say that it's doing what I meant for it to do, you know? It's
Yeah.
sort of it was I always meant for it to be a window, an introduction, a path to the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so and I feel it's doing that. It's creating interest around the world itself, and it is serving as an introduction uh to the world. A window.
For sure. And now I wasn't. I didn't have the follow up question for this, but the follow up question for it came up the other day um when I saw a post of yours that you put up on WhatsApp, where you basically went like on a tangent about how like westernized companies always want people to have the quote unquote authentic African experience. So I gotta like pick up that I gotta pick up that scab just a tiny bit and ask, like, is
Right.
can you about how that came about?
Ah, well, the how isn't important. It's a question
Yeah,
of uh I feel like it's something we know, right? As
definitely. True.
African writers of a certain age, right? We're trying to, whether we mean to or not, we are creating our own thing, right? And
Yeah.
in as much as a lot of these Western publishers, especially the woke ones, the ones that wanna represent the marginalized and the underrepresented, the black, the woman, the and such. And I would like to say and believe perhaps that they mean well. They actually mean to do that. But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, they do have an idea themselves of what the African writer is or should be, or what the African story, or just not the African story, but the story coming from the African should be. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And um, once you sort of start to stray away from that idea,
Mm-hmm.
they'll definitely be the first to try and push you back and like put you back in your place and be like, isn't this what you're trying to say? Isn't this what you're
Yeah.
trying to
Isn't this the
achieve with your
partnership being?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are you sure you're not trying to tell us about, the Africa that you live in? Are you sure
Yeah.
you're not Chimamanda Adichie and Nydia Kafo, amazing women, but like, that's
Definitely.
that's
Yeah.
that's the narrative that they have, and that's sort of, yeah, that's what I meant by
Yeah.
that.
No, I remember reading that, right, and like I immediately, one of the people that I thought about was this writer called Evan Winter, and
Mm-hmm.
he wrote this novel that I still haven't finished that Dave recommended for me. I believe it's called Rage of the Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically like it's basically a fantasy story set within like within the Zulu nation, but the only difference is they're riding dragons and they're throwing
Shut
magic
up.
and they have
Uh,
so so the way that Evan Winter did it is like he wrote the whole thing and then he published it himself on Amazon because it's like he wanted full control because he knew that they were gonna try and like water it down and
oh, they
put
will.
in a bunch of changes.
Oh, they will.
Yeah. So
It's
that's all they do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And like, it's obviously there's some great, I'm sure, magazines or whatever internationally that, would like for you to keep to your story or whatever. But the ones that I've come across, the magazines that publish speculative fiction, like short stories, because it is incredibly difficult to sell
Mm,
individual speculative stories, speculative fiction stories. It's definitely impossible to do here in South Africa. Um, so yeah, but so I try and send out a lot of the stories like to international publishing magazines and such. And yeah, that's
yeah.
I've come across it quite a few times.
Mm, yeah, and yeah, no, that it kind of sucks that like when you think about when you think about writing and you think about getting published, you never really think about all these tiny little stupid bits of politics that come with it. You just think, okay, I'm gonna write the story, it's gonna be fucking great, and I'm just gonna put it
Mm,
out there.
right,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so to use a wrestling term, right? There's this wrestling term that says a person is over. By over, it means like you're getting recognition. So how does it feel to be over? To finally have taken that proverbial sword, and to like be fighting visually at a point where people can see to get to that throne. Like people can actually now see you properly fighting for that Tolkien throne or Tolkien throne that I'm always talking about. That I'm always saying, hey man, she's gonna take that fucking throne. But now people are seeing it. How does it feel to get people, complete strangers, coming up to you and being like, "Hey, can you sign your book? Like, this is great."
Right. So I'm thinking now as I was like thinking of a response, I'm like, somebody somewhere is gonna like Google me and they'll find this and they'll listen to it and they'll be like, we don't need these problems. But no,
And yeah,
so no, it's never mattered who was watching. I've always, it doesn't matter now who's watching or not. I know where I'm going, where I'm headed. I've always been lucky enough
mm,
to know. So
definitely.
yeah, so the journey's still the same. The fight is still the same, and regardless of the crowd or lack thereof.
All right, no, that's pretty cool. I like what you said there with being fortunate enough to know exactly where you want to end up, because there's not a lot of people that can figure that out
Right.
early enough in life, you know.
Right. It
But
does take
yeah,
some doing.
it does take some doing for sure. Um, so the Pride is out, like you said right at the start. It's out in South Africa. It's out like you can
Yeah.
pretty much find it anyway. You can get a book,
Mm.
but like what about like a online distribution? Is how's that
Right.
looking in terms of
Um,
possibilities or time
yes.
frame?
Yeah, so that's something that's definitely obviously gonna happen. It's just that there are other things that we're trying to do that Majaji is trying to do in terms of like the book itself that um yeah, so putting it out online and internationally for now would sort of interfere with that. But it's just a question of time.
Okay, for sure. That makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
And sticking with it, I mean, the Pride is out. It's doing great, and so the next question becomes, what's next? Is it another anthology, or are we now getting ourselves ready to get like a true first a true first book in
Right,
the seasons?
right. Uh it's I'm not obviously gonna make promises. Well, like I'm not in control of any of this. But
Yeah.
writing is happening. It's that's a thing that's happening. And whenever I feel like I have something figured out, other things keep popping up in this world. But I would very much like to have a complete manuscript for a novel, and that's currently what I'm working on. But I get distracted by these stories. Like stories are short stories because of it's something you get to finish quickly, or well, not
Yeah.
quickly, but you get to finish it. That can be quite addictive. They're very difficult to run from once you're in. And yeah, but I am definitely trying to, yeah.
For sure, because as you were talking, I immediately thought like you've pretty much got like George R. R. Martin syndrome, or yeah, you know,
Very
or to like
much.
even go deeper. To go even deeper, you've got Patrick Rothfuss syndrome, right? You're writing this thing, but it's
Don't
not
you
finishing.
don't you dare. But yes, that would be quite. But that is oh my God, like short stories are such a trap. They're great, they're amazing. And like George R. R. Martin said, you don't just wake up in the morning and be like, I'm gonna climb Mount Everest when you haven't trampled the hill. So you have to start off, but then it's very difficult to get away from. So everything you write just sort
Yeah,
of molds itself into this story that wants to be finished. Uh,
definitely.
mm,
It is a whole, yeah, it's a whole thing. Short stories are great to write. I mean, personally, I've been promising myself that I'll finish a world that I started like 5 years ago now, and it's
right,
still not even close. But yeah,
right.
now we're gonna dive into a thing that you were both like excited about, and then at the same time sort of terrified about, but then you're super happy about at the end,
Okay.
and that's the cover of the Pride. You know, I
Ah,
remember, yeah, I remember you and I had a lot of conversations about this,
yeah,
and like,
yeah,
yeah, we talked about this a lot, and
yeah,
this was before Neo Mhlanga got signed to make it to
yeah,
create the cover.
yeah,
And thing that excited about me the most about it is like it's black artist,
yeah.
and she created that beautiful cover,
She's amazing. She's
so
amazing. Yeah,
she's she's freaking amazing, and
yeah,
it also um led to her getting signed, so that's even better.
yeah.
um so 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 talk to me about that. How did how did you feel the first time you saw that cover? Like, how did getting to seeing it and being like, what was your first reaction to it? Did you actually get to meet Nell?
No, actually, we
Yeah.
still haven't met, but it was a situation. God. So we were just like we were tossing around ideas with regards to the cover. I didn't know what I wanted it to look like, right? but I knew that I would know when I saw it, right? And
Mm.
so with all these ideas being tossed around, and a friend of mine, Tutugani, you know Tutugani, right? The Neo Zulu.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely. Yeah.
yeah, so he's like great at curating, basically, like his and he's also a great artist himself. So I asked if, he could throw something together for me. And then it's like, he was busy at the time. And then it's like, but he knows somebody that could, that could do this. And that's how I came in touch with Theo. And it was basically just a discussion of I just had an idea. At first I wanted the cover to be a Liringa, right? You know, the people of Liringa with their dark skin and their
Yeah.
blue eyes.
Yeah.
And so it ended up being a an Ayan person, which is how they look with their golden eyes and golden hair. And
Mm.
but yeah, it's basically I just had a lot of noise in my head. That girl just took it and made it magic. It was, yeah.
Nah, that's brilliant because it can take like an author a while to find that artist who can bring
Yeah,
what they want
I'm
on the
sure.
cover to life,
I'm
and the fact
sure.
that you just got that. Yeah. And I'm sure you're gonna work with the on all on other things as
I
well
would love
in
to.
terms of cover art.
I would love to.
Yeah. So nah, it's a shout out to that, man. A black person who's a woman, like
Bruh.
making some like
For another
it's
black person
freaking
who is
amazing.
also a woman, what the fuck?
Right? It's incredible. It's crazy. Uh so you touched on it a little bit ago. It's I know you love to write for magazines and writing competitions.
Hmm.
You at some point you go and like search for them,
Right.
and yeah, and sometimes I'm gonna guess it's just so you can get the short stories that are like rampaging around your head out and put them somewhere.
Right.
So 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 for you, um is it would you equal that sort of thing to like to an athlete, going to the gym and like training or like lifting weights or whatever?
Ah,
You're keeping the old,
you stopping
what do you
yourself
call
from
them, instinct.
atomizing. You do that, but I think what I would say is the equivalent of the athlete going to the gym, right? In terms of the writing, is actually just sitting down and putting down the short story and editing it and such,
Mhm.
and reading obviously better writers than you. Shout out to Madeline Miller. But
Right.
the competitions and all those things, um it's, yes, of course, it's getting the story out and getting your name out in as much as you possibly can. And on the odd occasion when they do pay you, it's you making something of this art, you know while you wait for the world to catch up. But yeah,
True.
it's a combination of factors. It's something that I've done for a very long time. It's quite exhausting, but
Mm.
yeah, I take it as part of, it has very much become a part of the process now. You write the story and you wait a week, you edit the story, and then you send it out. There's even an order of like the places, and then which one responds quickest, and then so if it's not there, then it's there, then it's there, then it's like, and yeah, it's just something I've done for a very long time now.
Mm. No, for sure. It'll certainly help with the whole. I mean, it's. I mean, I always look forward to it. Whenever you tell me you're writing something, the little boy in me just starts dancing because it's always excited to read your stories.
Yeah, you are
So
one of my test subjects. So I have like five people. When I've written a story and I don't know what's happening or what it is, I send it out,
yeah,
and then just so they can tell me what's happening, because I have no clue.
yeah. Nah, they're always interesting. Okay, well, now I'm gonna end up going on a whole tangent. Let me not do that, because yeah. So it's been a weird time, like pillar to post, like March to March. It's been a really weird like time in the world generally.
Mm,
So I asked, how have you processed it? There was a time when you had a lot of downtime to yourself, and then you suddenly got back to the whole busy clients,
mm,
book stuff, majaji stuff. Sometimes it gets crazy. I know life gets insane, but
mm,
it's been it's been different now. How
mm.
how you've been dealing with that?
Ah, gosh. I don't know if I've adjusted so much to this quote unquote new normal that I don't recognize what it was before. But I definitely understand all the changes and whatnot and everything. But I'm very much, you know this, I'm very much in my house person. That hasn't changed
For sure.
a lot. I've developed quite a few unhealthy habits, you know. But that too has also been quite a part of my nature. But in terms of the writing, I don't know, am I writing more? I have days. I'm not one of those, gosh, Jojo Martin described it perfectly. Let me think. Let me think. Uh he said something. I've definitely, he's not what he said, but it was something along the lines of,
Paraphrasing.
yeah. It's something along the lines of some writers are architects, right? And then others are gardeners. Yeah. So others, like, they build things up, right? They sketch them and they outline them and they do all the other things, right? Before they actually build it. Yeah. And then some of us just
Mhm.
walk in and then just start rooting shit and hope we can get something out of it. And I'm definitely that writer. So uh with all the time that, well, during the quarantine, when we were deep in quarantine, that's when I was editing the Pride. So that took up a lot of that time. And
Mm.
now we just, we write when we write. I'm giving such shitty answers. I don't know.
No,
I
I
have no
mean,
idea what I'm saying.
I mean, I feel like they're honest answers, and you're always honest. That's the thing, because
I
I
try to
know I
be.
can get like a true answer from you. You
I
know.
try to be, to a fault, to a
No.
fucking fault.
It's 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 not even that you try. It's like your soul will never allow you to never be honest.
Uh,
Your soul will never allow you to never tell a person the truth.
uh, yeah. Mm,
Yeah. So okay, now we're at the end. I got like one other thing on this thing. So so I know you've never been a player of video games or anything like that, but there's
no.
this video game that I've played. It's called The Last of Us, and The
I've heard
Last of
about
Us is
that.
getting yeah, it's getting a series now, and
Uh,
Pedro Pascal has been cast
woo, woo?
to play to play the lead.
Oh,
Pedro Pascal.
the
So
Mandalorian.
yeah, the Mandalorian. So I know you love the guy.
I
He's
fucking love
great,
him. Yeah.
brilliant actor. Right. So I mean, it's Pedro. I mean, there's is the follow up question to this that I had is like, has there ever been, well, let me say how many actors or actresses have you come across in either in like an Asian shows or like American shows or American films or Asian films that have sort of bled into your work, and if you can remember their names.
Psh. I wrote the entire fucking Wolves in the Northlands based on Shao. I literally, you asked this because
That I knew,
it's
yeah.
such
That I
track.
knew.
It's a whole track. Um, yeah, I had just finished The Untamed and I didn't know what to do. I didn't, and that's how I started writing Wolves basically. But obviously it changed. Not but it whatever I had set out to write, it became something else, as it often does. But yeah, that happens
Mhm.
all the time to me. You know this. Yeah, I read something or I watch something and it doesn't leave me until I get it tattooed on me or I write it into a story. But no,
For sure.
it's yeah, it happens all the time. All the time. A
For
lot of my
sure.
inspiration does come from that, and like just yeah, inspiration. I used that word, but like yeah, mm.
Why didn't you want to use that word?
It's always so troublesome. It suggests things. It suggests because people like to ask that, what's your inspiration?
Oh,
Where
listen.
it, it
Okay.
it makes it sound active, like it's something that you do on purpose.
That you always go to whenever you need
Yeah,
something. You just go and look at that.
it makes it sound like it's something that you set out to do, but it's not the case, isn't it? It just happens. Like there's an old story of mine called The Flame, and I wrote that whole entire story after I heard what's the name? After I heard Arsonist Lullaby by Hosea for the first time. And so
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's where I get my inspiration. It just happened to be where it came from at that particular time, you know?
It's just yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain things that you watch that just sprout
Ooh, they say.
into a story. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can just watch just about or read or listen to a song. Could be anything. Could be. I mean, the last time you got inspired to write a story by this when you heard a deaf person screaming. So
Yeah. That's actually the book that I'm working on. Yes, I've been working on this book. But yeah, that's the book. And yeah, oh gosh. I that's it's basically it's an attempt at like letting it go because it can be quite haunting. I don't know if it's because of because I write or I'm a writer or whatever, or just my nature, but I absorb and hold on to things and it can be a bit hard to live with, like haunting almost. And that would be an attempt like I said, with the tattoos and with the writing. It's an attempt
Yeah.
to put it somewhere.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not in your head so much.
Yeah. But then again, I feel like writers in general, or most creatives, and I'll say writers and filmmakers, because I have no idea what musicians go through. Never really been interested in that part. But writers and filmmakers, they feel everything, and everything they feel is like dialed to 15. But that's just me, and like what I've seen from you, everything is just dialed to 15.
Mm,
If the dial ends at 5, it goes all the way to 15 for the rest of us. So it's like it's
yeah,
hard to sort of ignore
mm,
all of that.
definitely.
So yeah, no. So I think yeah, we've reached the end of this interview, and as promised, it only hit like a half hour, so
Shut
it
up.
didn't take a whole lot of time. Yeah, I
Shut
wasn't even aiming for that. I was thinking it'll go over.
up.
So for one last question, you gotta recommend the listeners one book that you should read. One book.
What
One.
did I?
It's so easy. It's one book.
It's the fact that it's one book. It could be 50 and it would still be hard. What did I recommend last time? Was it Black Leopard Red Wolf? It was, hey?
It was. Yeah,
Okay.
it
This
was.
time I'm gonna recommend. So I read this book the first time years ago. I've read it 1,000 times since. And Helen's reading it right now, and she's been reading it to me, and it's freaking ruining my life again. And
Yeah.
yeah, it literally made me go get a whole bust from a statue tattooed on my arm of some men that's been good for centuries.
Ah,
But
okay, okay.
it's
I already know the book, but
yeah, of
yeah.
course we do. It's The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Freaking genius, that
For
woman.
sure.
Every time I read her, I'm like, why am I writing? Should I just stop? Why am I wasting my life?
Yeah, nah, that's a brilliant book. That's a brilliant book.
Um,
I mean,
and what
yeah, no,
else is
Song
she?
of
Sorry,
Achilles is great.
you
And
said one, but like I had to just sort of toss in.
did you just throw in the Untamed?
Yeah, I did, didn't I? I had to.
Okay, very
I had to. Odawazushi, it's freaking amazing. You can get the Chinese translation online, and it's bloody great.
Definitely.
It's
Sure.
3,000 pages of life.
It is. Oh, and it's also got the comment section from
Yes,
the
yes,
people
yes.
translating the best
It's
the best.
brilliant. It's brilliant.
So if the person's not gonna read it for the Untamed, at least they can like go through it for the comments, because the comments will keep you going. Those things are great.
Absolutely. But yeah, the Song of Akili is
And
brilliant,
yeah,
brilliant, 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 brilliant.
excellent book. Well, my recommendation is The Pride of Noonlay by my guest Shanice
Ah,
Ndlovu.
shout out.
Yeah, shout out. For people listening from South Africa, it's like available literally anywhere you can find a book. Internationally, we'll keep you updated on that. You know, I always
Soon,
keep it updated
soon.
with Shanice's stuff soon, real soon. So yeah, it's great. It was great having you here again.
Gratitude,
It's always great to talk to you.
gratitude.
Yeah,
I don't know why I'm
yeah.
bowing like
All
you
right,
didn't
and
see it.
yeah, and I'm nodding like you can see it, so it's fine. And next time you come around, I'll try and write questions that'll be less likely to get you in trouble.
I would appreciate that very much. Ask me about the
All right
process.
then.
Ask me all those questions that all the others ask me.
You,
What's your process? Where do your ideas come from? Please don't put this in.
you know what?
This is gonna get me killed.
Speaking of which, there was a question that I wanted to ask, and I don't know what happened to it, but now I'm gonna ask it because we're still here. Um, right. So I gotta ask you about about the the mental strain of of uh of of running towards a deadline for something like the Pride, like you were during the lockdown phase.
Right.
How does that factor into making sure that everything is right, to making sure that these characters are doing what they meant to, the additions to the story that get added, the like you said, I remember we talked about the wedding, and then the wedding went to
Did you like
there,
the
and
wedding?
and the wedding had to find. I did. I was wondering how it would look. It actually found its place. I was like, oh, so this is why she wouldn't send it to me, but it's
Yeah.
fine. It worked out.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, how did all of that, contribute to like holding together just to get to the end of that thing?
So the mental strain, as you put it, you get through that. You trust the process, and you trust yourself, and you trust the story, and you trust your editor. I was very lucky. I got an amazing editor, and
Hmm.
yeah, and you trust that the story will end up where it needs to end up. I am gonna sound like one of those people, but a lot of this does feel like it's out of your hands, with these things, this story. In as much as you're putting it down,
For
it
sure.
doesn't always feel like something you're responsible for. So you can trust wherever it came from, that it will see it through.
Mm. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, there's something that you told me. It was early after we met and we're still becoming friends. It's a thing that Stephen King said.
Yes, yes.
I'm gonna
I
paraphrase
almost
because I
literally
don't I
also
don't
just
remember
spoke
the
about it now, but yes. Uh,
right, the whole thing about stories coming from a place and you don't really know what it is, but like it just comes from there.
right, yeah. He
So
said he said something.
as you
Oh, sorry. He said something like,
no, go ahead. You can
yeah.
answer.
He said something like, he doesn't feel like sometimes his stories are something that he can take credit for, like he's something he created. It does feel sometimes like, you know, and something you unearth, something you find, like you were digging around and you just found a freaking diamond, and something that was
For sure.
already there. And it does feel like that a lot of
Yeah.
times. That's why
Mm.
it's rare. That's if
And
you're
yeah,
a writer, you didn't ask me where do my stories come from. Because you don't know, so I don't know. And
you could, yeah, how would I, right?
it's
It's like if I don't know, how would you
yeah.
know?
He also said that in writing. He's like, he's talking about his friends that he's with, and one of them was Barbara himself. It's like yeah, we're friends. We've been hanging out for years. We don't ask each other where our stories come from. We know we don't know. So yeah.
For sure. Yeah, and to quote you, you once said, writing is a possession, and that's exactly what it is
Oh my God, that's
sometimes.
not me. But yes,
Like a
it's
lot of time.
that's
Really? Oh man,
that's Joanna
okay.
Harris. She says
That is so terrible.
it's like
Okay.
Joanna
Yeah,
Harris. She said writing is a possession of sorts, not altogether benign.
definitely. That's it. That's it right there. That's the ticket.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So now I think I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm finished now. Yeah,
Gratitude for
that's
real.
the ending of my question.
You can take my shiship from across the world.
Oh, Shishbe. Yes. And so yeah, no, it's been great having you.
Cool.
As they would say in the language that I've been learning, Japanese, arigato gozaimasu. And yeah.
It's been cool being here. I don't know how I would say it in the language. So how do I say? Well, I can only say sheshe. Thank you. That's it. I don't know which one is you're welcome. I haven't gotten that far in my Duolingo. I can literally
we'll get there someday.
I can literally only count to freaking 5 and order fish. That's it.
We'll get there. We'll be ordering fish you'll be ordering fish in China, and I'll get to order fish in Japan.
Right.
It'll work out.
Right.
All right. Great to have you. Peace.
Bye.